Cool. Do you want to pick a side?
Should I? Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fans, Brands, and Consumer Products, the newly titled talk. This is essentially a discussion following the journey from indie title or new release all the way to a global brand, stopping off the intellectual property, fandom, consumer products. In essence, it's a conversation about brand licensing and how to protect your intellectual property, how to build a game with a brand in mind. But for the corporate averse, it is probably the most creative and collaborative business in the world right now. Someone who knows a hell of a lot more than I do about the subject is my guest, Dave Tovey, head of Tinderbox, the video game arm of global licensing brand Beanstalk. Dave, why don't you give us a bit of insight into what you do, the power of games and how you tap into it?
Yeah, so hi everyone, thank you for joining. So yeah, I'm from, Ben mentioned, from an agency called Tinderbox. So essentially we represent some of the biggest gaming companies in the world, brands you see here. And I guess to put it really simply, we take these brands, work with manufacturers and put these brands on product, whether that's t-shirt, toys, collectibles, you name it. So that's kind of our role, is to really bring these titles out of the video game world into physical products and retail for kind of fans to experience.
Well, again, this is all about brand licensing and extending that brand past the actual in-game experience for the fans. So, I mean, licensing and merchandise, when you think about them, they are pretty much traditionally, entertainment driven. You think about Back to the Future retro t-shirts, you think about Harry Potter Lego sets. What about gaming? What about the power of gaming, its huge fan community, and how do you kind of essentially bring these brands to life?
Yeah, so I mean, I think traditionally the merchandise world, as Ben said, has been very focused on Disney, Universal, these big, massive studios. But, as we all know, you guys in this room know better than anyone else that real gaming is the dominant form of entertainment, and people dedicate a lot of their life to experiencing these franchises and universe. So yeah, we kind of, Tinderbox as an agency, we really identified that this was going to be the next big step in the merchandise world about 5-6 years ago. And yeah, we've kind of, working with some of these biggest games to bring them to life. And in the gaming side, fans are truly passionate, and you've got to create product which they like, otherwise they'll certainly let you know. So yeah, it's I think gone are the days where your latest obsession being a cinema release, and then you buy the DVD or watch it on Netflix a few months later. It's really about buying a game, experiencing it for a long time with the service, and really kind of buying into the fandom and showing off to your friends in the world that you're a true fan of this franchise.
I think it's a fair point. I mean, I think the latest statistics, there's about 3.6 billion gamers in the world at the moment, and it's probably the most exciting time to be an indie developer. But I mean, what about the real opportunity behind gaming? Why has it evolved into one of the most powerful entertainment forms?
Yeah, I mean, many reasons. I think, it's for us, when we go into retail pitching these gaming brands, speaking to a Primark saying this is why you should stock this gaming product, this gaming merchandise. It really is. It's just, I think it's the fan base are so passionate for it. They live and breathe it. Where it's those hours spent, they just want to consume it in so many ways and display their fandom. Whether that's a Funko on your shelf or a T-shirt, that's really the big element of it.
I mean, obviously, we've drawn a comparison between entertainment and gaming.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how does a gaming brand differ when you kind of put it next to a movie, toy, or movie release when it comes to a product?
Yeah, I mean, it's so different. There's the genres are so different. Really, it's not just one route fits all. You can go many different directions. Halo, the franchise we work on, that is a universe in itself. The size and scale of that universe is probably very similar to what Marvel do. There's all this story around it, and people consume it. They buy the brand, they buy the books, they play the games, they wear the t-shirts, and there's a real passionate base about it. Whereas Call of Duty, absolutely huge game, one of the biggest in the world. That really is, a lot of time spent on it and playing it with your friends, enjoying it in a different kind of way. So we really change our licensing programs to reflect what the fan wants. Another example, Rare. We work with Rare on Sea of Thieves and their retro brands. The fans there absolutely love the product and they want more and more. So it's how can we do something a bit differently? Can we take in-game items and make a physical version of it? And those fans really lap it all up.
Well, I mean, we've got a bit of time to actually really dig into the licensing. I mean, how do you factor licensing into something like ESL, esports? It's not even a trend anymore. It's an established thing, and it's got an established huge range of fans. So how does licensing approach factor in? Like, how do you approach something like esports?
Yes, I think kind of if you look at a lot of these brands, their IPs, they're story driven, they're entertainment kind of focused. ESL, it's kind of our first step into esports. Obviously a very, very exciting area and only getting bigger. So for us, it was taking the ESL brand and expanding it into the core of esports. So aiming at gaming peripherals, controllers, headsets, things that are really going to kind of aid your actual esports experience and essentially make you a better player. And that's kind of really where our focus has been, to create that opportunity for you to do that. And then from there, we'll expand the ESL brand into fashion and way for you to really display it. But yeah, that's kind of been our focus. It's to help you get the most out of your gaming, essentially.
Well, we've got a couple of case studies. So, oh my God, it works. So let's talk about why licensing is far more than just merchandise. Obviously, this is a good opportunity. Am I in the way for anyone? Because I'm kind of bang center. Right in the way for you? No worries. Anything for you, sir. Right. So if you can see that. Ruined your camera, I'm sorry. You've got Rare software, Battletoads, Sea of Thieves, and also Killer Instinct arcade machines. I love that. First of all, let's start with Killer Instinct. What was the call for arcade machines? Yeah,
so the Rare studio, I'm sure you know them well. They're here today. I don't know if they're in the crowd, but there's a lot of love for kind of what Rare do through the multiple generations, the 80s, the 90s, the noughties, and today, all crossing different platforms. So, we're very honored. We're very lucky to work with Rare to really bring this amazing product to the fans. Killer Instinct is a really interesting one. Really, really much loved kind of retro franchise. Yes, it had the recent Xbox release as well, but our proposition was really, let's recreate what I guess we all grow up with, playing Killer Instinct on the arcade cabinet. So yeah, this is a new cabinet which is actually launching, I think, next month in November to retail. So you will be able to play Killer Instinct at home on a cabinet just like you did when you were growing up. And that is also going to be Battletoads and some of the other Rare classics. So it's just really, really cool product. And it's, something you can enjoy, but I think a really nice display item. If we had the room, it'd be great to be able to, have that in your kitchen or front room to really show off to your friends.
I think one of the reasons why I absolutely love brand licensing, and I kind of look down on the word merchandise, it's just personal choice, is that the massive amount of creativity in what you do. So, I mean, Sea of Thieves and Monopoly, how did you put those two together?
Yeah, really interesting one. So Sea of Thieves, so the game's 3 years now. It's the fan base is just continuing to do that, and it's a real big focus for the Xbox kind of Xbox platform. It's one of their leading ones. So we've really been steadily building up a really compelling kind of merchandise opportunity for the brand. A couple of years ago, we launched a dedicated e-commerce store for Sea of Thieves and the Rare kind of retro heritage properties such as Banjo and Battletoads and Killer Instinct. And that's primarily been a print-on-demand, T-shirts, posters, gifting, those kind of items. But yeah, we knew, Rare knew from the community that they wanted more. The community talked to them a lot, whether it's on social media, and they talk back to them. And kind of the board game Monopoly concept is a thing that kept coming up. And having this great Rare store and fans really, really buying into kind of what they did and essentially wanting more and more product, we were able to unlock this monopoly opportunity with the monopoly developers. I think as soon as this opportunity came up, everyone got very excited, and there was lots of excitement from the studio, from the monopoly side, to really make a compelling, not just a branded monopoly, but really taking it into the world, bringing it into the real world, taking locations and elements from the game. There's all 3D molded items, so it was a really good piece. And I think we launched this on Black Friday last year. And the numbers were really, really strong. It was the top-selling item on the Rare store, and yeah, I mean, it just continues to go from strength to strength. And it's a real, I think, if we want to display what you can do with a gaming brand, hey, everyone knows Monopoly, and it's a really good way to do it.
I mean, we'll break down exactly what engages fans in individual games shortly, but merchandise and licensing, not just physical products. We've got a bit of metaverse and in-game licensing there with Pirates Life, the recent update for Sea of Thieves, which hit media big time.
Yep.
So what are your views on the evolution of this in-game kind of appearance licensing style?
Yeah, I mean, we had nothing to do. We didn't broker the Pirates Life opportunity, but I think when we saw it get announced at E3, I think it was on the front page of the BBC website, Captain Jack Sparrow, Sea of Thieves. It was amazing. And for us, it brought Sea of Thieves into a whole new level. And it's massive already, and it just elevated it even further with that Disney connection. And yeah, you just know more and more people are going to come in and experience it. And I think brands like Sea of Thieves, people really do live and breathe it, and they get very excited by it, and they want to buy those products. And then when you bring in another IP, which has probably got a similar kind of fan base, it was a real perfect fit, and it didn't feel false as well. I think that was a great thing. There's always a threat that if you bring in a third-party brand, how's it going to fit? But it was such great synergies, and also the Easter egg with Monkey Island got me very excited as a big Monkey Island fan back in the day. So just really smart things like that Rare do. And I don't think there's many studios out there who are kind of doing that. But I mean, if we link that back to the consumer products merchandise side, what we do, we can't do anything related to Disney, but it's just the interest out of that has just elevated it. Retail really know about Sea of Thieves brand and want to be part of it. And it's it's not just Monopoly boards. We've got tabletop gaming, these great vinyl figurines you see here in the bottom right. Tons of apparel, and yeah, it's a franchise which just really people want to be involved with, and the fans always want to get the product as well. It's brilliant.
I actually have a sideline question for you on the U2s. So if you're developing a game, and I'm seeing a lot of IPs coming out at the moment with very character-driven stories or narratives or setups or styles, what's important to consider for the collectibles market? I mean, what's your view on things like U2s and Funko? And
yeah, I think U2s, Funko, they're kind of the pinnacle of where a brand wants to be. Lots of people have got shelves full of Funkos, and that is the ultimate. Look at me, I love this brand. For that, a character element is a very, a kind of a must there. Really, you need those iconic characters, which are going to translate well to be, stylized as well, and that's a big factor. But it's not all about characters. There's lots of brands we work on which are less character focused, but it's a real lifestyle piece, and there's such strong branding and iconography that you can create a different kind of program from it, whether it be fashion or accessories. So there's different ways to do it, but yeah, I think for the Funkos especially, recognizable characters which are really going to be loved, and then you can use your community, your platform to really elevate and talk about it.
Well, community and platform breeds into what we're talking about next, which is it's not just all about IP. Brand itself is a huge role play in licensing. So let's talk about creativity and licensing again here. I mean, what about the categories? Apparel, home decor. I mean, what other categories do people need to consider when kind of growing their brand? Yeah,
so this is a great example. So sort of the beginning, we work with Xbox. So we've got a really big partnership with Microsoft, working with kind of multiple studios, bringing their brands to the retail and to physical products. Xbox is really, really great brand to be working on. So we started this program just kind of end of 2019. First time Xbox coming to retail, and you think about it, it's crazy actually, because the world of gaming is very tribal. You're a Xbox player, you're a PlayStation or a Nintendo. It's kind of like football. You're an Arsenal or you're a Tottenham fan. And PlayStation for quite a few years had really had this merchandise answer: T-shirts, bags, you name it. They had some product there, but the Xbox fan didn't have that experience. So yeah, back in kind of late 2019, Microsoft came to us saying, "Hey, now the time is ready. Now it's time to launch Xbox to retail in consumer products. We've got a new console coming soon. We think we can have a lot of fun with this." But at the same time, we didn't want to take the brand far and wide, put the Xbox logo on every kind of product. It was really wanted to do it in a smart and strategic way. So in 2019, we really kind of focus on collaborations, really cool marketing-driven pieces, which are going to bring a lot of buzz. So the example you see at the top right, that is a Foot Locker collab we did at Gamescom. When we could all go to Gamescom last in August of 2019. And this was essentially, it was the Xbox Ultimate Jacket. It retailed for about 150 euros. As a part of that, you got 12 months Game Pass subscription, entry to Gamescom, and also a Q Pass on the Xbox stand. Only a few hundred were made. And it was only available in Germany or Cologne, where Gamescom was held, and then in kind of online. I think on launch, there was queues around the block to get the jacket, and sold out online, sold out in minutes. And that created a ton of buzz. Microsoft really got behind that with their marketing machines. And I think the great thing as well, where there weren't many, there were only a few hundred available, you were essentially getting guys at Gamescom going, "Hey, you got the same jacket." And it's kind of like, this fist bump, even if you don't know each other. So it's a way of you going, "Hey, I've got this, not a lot of other people have." So I think that whet the appetite to really start expanding Xbox out to other categories. So from there, we took the brand to the likes of GameStop in that specialty gaming channel, really serving the hardcore fan. And yeah, sales were really strong. So that's kind of apparel and kind of lighting, stationery, those kind of elements. And then just because we knew Xbox it's a lifestyle for a lot of people. We spend a lot of our time playing these machines, and yeah, as I said earlier, you're an Xbox or you're a PlayStation fan. It was kind of the opportunity to bring it out to the wider market for the first time. So in Feb of last year, this example we see here, the retail, that is a kids product in Primark. It's not easy to get an activation like this away in Primark or any other retailer really, but kind of the Microsoft power of that brand, Xbox, really allowed us to do that. So got some great placement, and then lockdown hit, and it was all about, what do we do? But thankfully, where the likes of the grocers stayed open, we were able to have a lot of kids' Xbox apparel in Tesco and Asda all year round. And I think today you see, obviously, so many kids wearing Xbox T-shirts when I'm just out on the street. It's great. You're like, it's what I'm doing is connecting with the world. So it's really fun, and I think Microsoft love that because it's essentially a billboard for their brand. Normally, Xbox can be found in the gaming aisle or in the traditional marketing channels where they play, but suddenly Xbox was in the clothing section in Tesco or in H&M, or we've got a cake there. And you may think at first, you've done an Xbox cake, but if you think about it, there's so many kids who are doing Xbox birthday parties. Actually, why not have an Xbox cake? It kind of just brings in the whole theme together. And it's the best-selling licensed cake in the UK. So Tesco and Asda love it. So we've been smart. We haven't put on everything, but it's kind of been cakes, bedding, Christmas jumpers. We have a lot of fun with that. It's the ways to show it off in a smart way. And the Microsoft team love it because it's just taking the Xbox brand far and wide and really making people aware of it. And I think that's the great thing about licensing. It's not just about, we're making money. Yes, that makes the world go round, right? But it's really, it's allowing your brand to be seen by so many people. And I think, yeah, as it becomes more and more accessible and more people have come into it during COVID, you're going to see tons more gaming brands at retail very soon. And I think retail have really woken up to it now. And I think you see many more gaming brands than you do traditional Hollywood blockbusters.
It's true. But I mean, brand licensing as well, it's all about breaking down the brand and understanding the player, understanding the consumer. And one really good example of this is Call of Duty and what you're working on in terms of the apparel side of life. So, I mean, talk to us about the apparel market. Who wears a T-shirt with a game brand on it? I mean, how do you put those things together?
It's really interesting. So the clients we represent all actually play in very different spaces, which is great. Xbox is our real mass opportunity for kids and adults. Halo is a real universe-driven game, and you can kind of go into that specialty channel really strongly. We've got the ESL side. We just Ubisoft and Just Dance, which is a whole new area of kind of leisure we're looking at. And then Call of Duty. Call of Duty is a huge franchise. One of the biggest in the world. If you compare it to Hollywood titles, it's way above. And not many. Well, you probably all do in this room, but when you talk to a buyer at a retailer, not many people realize that at first. Now they do because we've told them enough. So it's a Call of Duty, but it's a little less character focused. It's not like a Halo. Yes, there's some strong characters in it, but it's less story driven. But a lot of people spend a lot of their life playing this. We look at the average gamer, and it's the equivalent of watching a Game of Thrones box set a week is how much and how long a gamer spends gaming a week. And probably a lot of that time is on Call of Duty. I mean, the Call of Duty consumer will buy that boxed release and play it all year round and then buy the next box release. And now they're playing Warzone as well, which has gone crazy. So it's been a slightly different fan base because of that. Call of Duty also is an 18 plus property. So we need to be mindful of that, and we can't, of course, market it to kids. Our fashion program is really focused on, I guess, fashion-driven elements from it. It's where there's the less character focus. We've been quite smart working with Activision and their kind of creative partner and our licensees to create some really fashion-forward designs. So some great examples, elements using the multiplayer map and creating camouflage out of that print, which can be used on apparel. So if you don't really know the game, you're not going to know, but you're probably going to, that's really cool, I like that. But if you're a true hardcore fan, you're like, oh, this is awesome, that's that map I love, I can really see that. So it's those smart, subtle kind of elements you can draw into, which makes a difference. So yeah, the Call of Duty fashion program, it's probably 6-7 years in now. And we kind of, Activision kind of did a similar route to what Xbox did. They started in GameStop, really Call of Duty logo and a kind of a black tee. But as we've progressed and moved it into new channels, Primark, massive supporter of the brand. The retail activation you see there, that's in Primark Oxford Street. That was for Modern Warfare. They did one for Black Ops, Cold War. They're real supporter for the brand and also bring it into new accounts such as Asda, Next, Lefties, CNA. So it's not just a specialty channel play now. It's real mass. But there's different ways you've got to do it, because I think a Primark consumer is very fashion forward, where another supermarket one consumer maybe a little less fashion forward. So that you probably go back to more of a logo driven opportunity there. Whereas in a Primark, you can be a bit more inventive and creative on how you really have the designs. But Activision are brilliant. They invest a lot of their time in really creating a creative guide. It's not just here's the logo and some key art. It's everything. This is how you're going to make it a real strong fashion piece. And I think that's, if you want to create a merchandise program, you can't really just have some character art and some logos and go, yeah, make a t-shirt. Because a lot of the time it's not that easy, and printing capabilities for apparel, it can be limited at times. So you need to think about how you can take this brand and apply it to the latest trends, I guess, you're seeing on the catwalk, which will be in retail next year, how you can apply that in kind of a clever way, which the consumers will want.
but it's also growing your audience as well. So obviously we're talking about diehard Call of Duty fans here, whether it's Modern Warfare or Black Ops. And then you've also got the fashion forward people who want to kind of meld with either the esports world. So this is essentially how to grow your audience relatively authentically.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I want to get down to the nitty gritty of exactly how fandom drives licensing, how to create a brand and how to nurse all of the fans. So obviously we've got a quote, if you can see it up there. I won't read it out because it's quite long, but it basically boils down exactly how fandom, fuels your brand entirely. So, I mean, how does, in your mind, storytelling, nostalgia, experience, time, like you see with Call of Duty, how do they all play in to building a fan base?
Yeah, so Halo's a great example there. There's many games in that series. There's Halo Infinite launching very soon, which we're all very excited about. But that brand's not just a video game. They have multiple best-selling books, and actually there was a book before the original game. So they created that franchise from day one with a wider vision in place. There's a TV series coming, so there's a real element of it. And I think, if you want to create a world a game which is gonna step into fandom, you need to think about that wider universe. And there's probably a lot in Halo which is just touched upon in the game, but you can make a whole novel out of that. Kind of what you'd see with Doctor Who or Star Wars. It's that applying that kind of logic and storytelling, which keeps the fans coming back and wanting more. I think kind of the nostalgic piece, there's been a big kind of focus on that recently. Crash Bandicoot, we work with an Activision. A lot of love for that brand back in the 90s. The remasters released a few years back got everyone excited. So that was, oh my God, I'm going to relive my 10-year-old self and play it and get equally frustrated by how hard but amazing that game is. And people definitely want to do that. I think there's look at the new GTA release. I can't wait for that. I'm going to play it on Switch. It's going to be really exciting. So they've really, I think studios have captured that, and that allows you to have a kind of a retro play merchandise opportunity, with T-shirts with kind of weathered effects, and it's like, hey, I may not have enough time. I'm a dad or a mum. I may not have enough time to play the games now, but I played it 15 years ago, and I want everyone to know, and that's a big thing. But also, this nostalgia is bringing people into new brands. So there's a lot of kids who are discovering Crash Bandicoot, or a lot of adults who didn't play it first time round who are discovering Crash 4 or the mobile release, and kind of opening up to whole new audiences.
Well, it's another good point, actually. I mean, let's talk about the evolution of licensing now. Let's say people are out there developing a game, building a game, wanting to kind of get ahead of the trends. You mentioned mobile apps. How is licensing evolving to bring in new products, new experiences, whether it's the metaverse, whether it's NFTs? I mean, what kind of ahead of the trend curves can people kind of be aware of?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky one. I think if I had the definitive answer, I'd be a very rich man. But there's a few brands out there doing it, brilliantly at the moment, which aren't necessarily playing in the licensing in a big way. But I think, what Roblox are doing is amazing. They've got toys, they've got apparel, but they have just created this whole community where they're kids, adults want to be there, and really interestingly, brands now as well. Gucci selling items on Roblox. You think about that a few years ago, like, how does that work? But actually, it's a great marketing piece, and it's just making more and more people aware of what this title is, and that that marketing and awareness is just going to bring more and more fans in and essentially create fandom merchandise opportunities for you.
Well, I mean, it works along with, let's say, for example, Fortnite concerts or Call of Duty Halloween drops and DLCs and things like that. But I want to open this up to Q&A in a minute, because I'm sure there's a fair few questions knocking around. But if you had any advice for people looking to build a future brand, what are the core elements that you look for when it comes to then licensing a brand?
Yeah, I think it's the universe, the wider story around it. Because remember, sometimes you want to do a toy range which might have 5 or 10 figurines. You have that scope and that character for kind of the manufacturers to play with. The creative side, it's brilliant to provide your key artwork, but think about how you can apply your brands onto other products and create guidelines, templates, which is going to help retailers and manufacturers see your vision as well. And I think also talk to your community. Going back to Rare, thing they do so well is they engage with their community. They ask what they want. They do polls and like, what kind of product would you love? Or they just get random emails going, hey, I want a Monopoly board. And 6 months later, we had a Monopoly board. So yeah, talk to your fans because they're essentially the people that are, gonna consume this product. And I think that it's valuable. That's a really, really great way to drive a great program. So yeah, I think they're the really strong ones. There's tons more I could go about, but I mean, yeah, kind of making sure those elements are right and you're on your way. I mean, not every brand is going to get a license program. You kind of do, you want to hit a certain threshold before you go into this. You don't want to launch a game and say, oh, we're going to have a program from day one. Be patient, allow the player base to build up. And then when you're at that really good critical mass, that's when you can start turning it on and kind of having a lot of fun.
I mean, yeah, it's at the core of it. It's fandom.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned. Do we have any questions for Dave or myself, if I can answer anything?
Then to say, we're using both channels for you, so if you're able to paraphrase questions before.
Not a problem.
Thank you very much.
It's fine.
Do you have a sense for what proportion of players of a game or franchise are interested in like physical merchandise?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I mean, where we're... Sorry.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
He just told us, didn't he? And I broke the rules. Yeah.
And I don't remember the question. I'm so sorry.
What proportion of people, do you have a sense of what proportion of players of a franchise are interested in any kind of physical merchandise?
What proportion of players are interested in physical merchandise?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Just because it's always hard. We don't get that exact data from retail in terms of sell-through. However, there's a few brands I think you can see who are doing an amazing job in the game side and the merchandise side. Among Us, that's I say it came out of nowhere, but that game was around a very long time. But a kind of summer last year, that's when the real excitement came around it. And today, yeah, there's a very well-selling toy range out there. Bedding, I was chatting to their bedding partner recently. It's one of the best-selling ranges for them. So it's quite, I don't know if I can give you an exact answer. But when there's some brands which are huge, I would say a lot of the community are buying into it. Definitely on the kids side. I think the kids side, it gives you a wider scope to, go into different kind of products. I guess if you think about yourself as a gamer, what would you buy? It probably differs from what a kid may want to buy. But yeah, on the adult bit, what we see really works well is gifting items. So if you're a Call of Duty fan, like, oh, my dad or my brother or my uncle may really like Call of Duty socks or slippers or kind of a loungewear t-shirt. So it's different. I know I'm not entirely giving you the answer there, but I think it very much differs by brands. But yeah, certainly Among Us are doing a great job. I worked on Moshi Monsters way back when that was massive, working on the licensing there. And yeah, we knew a lot of people were experienced both the game and the consumer products, but a lot of the kids weren't playing the game. They were obsessed with the figurines and the trading cards and the magazine, and to them that was the universe. It was that whole physical side we'd built. So yeah, really interesting way to look at it.
Nice.
So yeah, I hope that was kind of an answer there for you.
Anyone else?
Thanks for a great talk. I'm curious, did you have any challenges marketing ESL in the esports space compared to maybe the easier to market specific teams of players rather than the tournament organizers?
Well, that's a good question. Did you have any challenges marketing ESL in comparison to the players? Did I get that right?
Yeah, or the teams.
Or the teams?
Yeah, no, it's a very good question. Maybe too good. Yeah. So I mean, esports, it's massive. We know that there's millions of people tuning in and experiencing that. It was on the iPlayer last year. It's gone mass. Retail hasn't quite woken up to it yet. It's still a bit too early because I think esports, despite it being massive, it's still probably it's moving a bit more into that corporate world now. FaZe Clan IPOing, for example, planning that. I think it's moving into that world a bit more, likes of Man United, what Arsenal and NFL are doing there. Where I think from day one, we kind of knew that there's some massive teams out there. So I think we said, look, we're not going to go up against them because it's a different kind of play. So we kind of positioned the ESL program you've got powered by Intel. Why don't we make esports powered by ESL? So that was really our pitch to the peripheral manufacturers. I think there's a lot of education around that, but we've got some great global partners on board now who are going to be announced fairly shortly. Manufacturers who are working with a lot of the esports teams already. So they really saw it as I guess you've got the esports tree, you've got ESL, and then you've got the teams that kind of branch out from it. So that's, how we really positioned it.
I mean, I have a build-on question from that. Sorry. I mean, What about audience base? I mean, do you find it's very much the League of Legends fans or the actual intellectual property gaming individual title fans that drive that brand forward? Or do you get new fans for ESL coming in just through the streaming and the content?
Yeah, I certainly, if you're watching CSGO on a stream, there will be ESL branding there. So it is all part of what I went back to earlier, the billboard kind of, brand on a t-shirt. It's that ESL logic. It's like that, this is essentially, we are putting this all together. So I think it's seen as a kind of a safe haven in the esports world. It's a trusted source and it's massive. So we're really excited to see how those partners do. And I think when it's right, we'll start branding it out to kind of new categories.
Cool. Anyone else? Any questions? Yes, sir.
Have you run into any issues kind of with the retro side of things where licensing didn't exist for some of the things as of now? Like you see on streaming, the TV shows you different songs because licensing for streaming didn't exist when they were made. Have you seen any of that in games?
Have you run into any challenges with retro licensing? Sorry, I shortened that because Dave can hear you, but the camera can't.
Yes, I mean, I think if you look back some of the original Rare titles, licensing wasn't really a thing then. Disney were doing it, but no one else really. So there was a lot of work involved, trademarks, extending what you can do. So we couldn't just go in and go, great, we're going to do an arcade cabinet and all of this because there wasn't the contract, there wasn't the legal work in place to do that. Rare have done a brilliant job there. All that due diligence to make that happen. There's a company I know who have really focused on really kind of retro games from Atari, Spectrum, taking those brands and creating really cool t-shirts out of them. And I know it's been quite a project for them because sometimes the developer doesn't even know who owns it. It's like, is it us? Is it them? It's been a bit of a headache. But I think, it's always found a way because a lot of the time these developers are just fans and they just want to see cool product out there and they want their community to like it. So you may have to go some hoops, but you can most of the time find a way. For the more recent titles, kind of the 90s ones, that's not really been an issue. Mm-hmm. But there's NFTs. No one had ever trademarked a brand for an NFT. So you're always having to refresh that list to keep you on trend. In front, so you can do these things.
As a perfect example is the Sonic NFT when it comes to the retro mashup kind of style. Any more questions?
So you talked about how there's kind of a threshold where this makes sense. Are there any counterexamples of things at a smaller scale that have done this really well?
Yeah, so not every licensing program or merchandise program needs to be in Primark or Asda to be seen as a success. A lot of brands will have their own stores and sell their product directly to their consumer. And I think Supercell did it a few years ago with Clash of Clans. We do it with Rare. And when we launched the Rare store, the numbers, and they still are absolutely amazing. I mean, that brand could get into Primark and Asda, but there's no reason why you can't partner with an e-commerce platform. And there's plenty of decent ones out there now, and COVID has only accelerated that transition to people buying online and having that set up. to create a program which your fans are going to love. It's going to really keep them happy, and you probably make some good revenue out of it as well. So yeah, it doesn't need to be in Primark to be seen as a success. I think if you see someone wearing your T-shirt or experiencing your plush toy or Funko toy in public or on social media, you've done a great job.
Amazing. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, great.
Perfect. Anyone else?
Sorry, I didn't allow you to paraphrase that.
Yeah, I know. It's absolutely fine. I don't think I'm doing a very good job of it. 5 minutes, thank you. We've got 5 minutes left. If there's no more questions, I can give you your time back. Or you can approach us afterwards.
Dave, do you have time to have a chat?
Yep.
Dave, do you have time to have a chat?
I do have a time.
All right. Well, in the meantime, everyone, thank you very much for attending the talk. If you are interested in learning more about brand licensing Europe is at London Excel, November 17 to 19. It's free to attend. Head on up and you can talk to Dave, myself, other people will be there, such as, the major game developers in the world. So if you're interested, you can talk to them.
Yeah, and you can find me on LinkedIn if you want to have a chat, or I'll be around afterwards as well.
All right, but thank you so much.
Thank you. Cheers. Hey, how you doing? Bye.